This interview is brought to you by Transformational Mortgage Solutions. You can check out the full episode at LykkenOnLending.com.
We're ready now to get into the Hot Topic segment with Roman Vinfield, who is of AI Assist, and it's powered by Conversica. If you want a primer to this podcast, go listen to the podcast we did with Gabe Minton, who's EVP and CIO at Guild Mortgage. We did that on April 15th, 3 months ago to the day. It's called The Latest Developments in Technology of Mortgage in the Industry. Gabe walked us through so many things, the various platforms, especially when we got into AI, explained the various levels that are out there. And so I encourage you all to go back and listen to that podcast. I listened to it, just listened to it again, and it's a great resource. He also brought up The Trust Economy, which is a great book in there. So go back and listen to that. But we're now going to get into a really exciting discussion with Roman Vinfield. Roman, good to have you on the podcast, friend.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be back.
Yeah, I'm going to tease you every time I hear you speak. I always ask you, where do you think Roman's from? He doesn't sound like he's like 100% Norwegian like I am from Minnesota. Anyway, Roman grew up in Brooklyn, is in New York. He has a very exciting company called AI Assist, and it's a front end to Conversica, which is one of the powerful AI technology tools in the marketplace. It serves many vertical markets. Roman saw an opportunity. And Roman, I really give you some kudos on this. You saw an opportunity how to step in and be a layer between Conversica and the industry and helping them bring this to market, and doing so in such a way that it's really caught the attention of some of our leaders. And one of the things I always say is, if you want to be successful, do what successful people do. And I'm very excited to announce on here that you struck a deal, or I should let you announce it, you struck a deal with Movement Mortgage. They're using your system, AI Assist, empowered by Conversica, to really start bringing AI into a bigger, much more meaningful way. Talk about that.
Yeah, no, that's right. That's absolutely true. And we're very excited to announce our deal with Movement Mortgage. It's been over a year in the making, and basically what they did, they selected us as the AI partner to help their loan officers, right, nationwide. All 1,800 of them. We're going to be doing our first webinar with them July 31st. We did some pilots, and it really worked out tremendously. It was really exciting. We've been working with Movement, for about a year. They've vetted a lot of different, solutions, and they chose us as the main one because, Conversica is really the leader in, AI communication as it relates to, email communication. And so what we're basically doing is we're doing two things for them. And, Alan mentioned when he was talking, the flow and the drop off. When you have people fall off your, through the journeys, and and really that happens because the loan officers just don't have the bandwidth to follow up on all those leads in their database. And
That's
so
right.
We were seeing some great lift, where we started reaching out to the leads in their database, and they started seeing things like people saying, "Oh, I wish you reached out to me, last month. I just bought a house. Oh, I was looking to refi. Rates hit where I was a point below, and we were able to refi. To your point earlier, and so we started getting all of these people saying like you kind of missed the boat." And as we continue to do it, we started seeing, the opposite. We started seeing people saying, "Hey, we're, I'm planning for September." You know what I mean? Obviously, people want to get their houses. You mentioned before, weddings and
going back to school,
refi opportunities, going back to school. So they started really seeing a lot of these messages, and so going through your database. These loan officers, they don't realize that they're really sitting on gold, right? They're sitting on gold, and they're constantly getting the new lead. Meanwhile, they're not working the leads in their database because they just don't have the time or the bandwidth. They're working on the current deals. They're working on, closing deals. They're working on maybe referrals from their current customer. They're working what's in front of them, and they forget all the stuff that, life took over, time took over, things happened, and they didn't get to close. And so the AI allows you to go through that, identify everything that's in that database, and really bring it back to life. So that's number one, right? And number two is the realtor referral networks. And, we see this every day, and, I'm sure the loan officers, they know this, that building those realtor referral networks is everything, where, the realtors, the brokers, the referral partners, those are the best leads you can get, right? So there's definitely the purchasing, the leads from LendingTree and from Zillow and all of those things. And so that's one side of the business. But those realtor referral partnerships are everything. And so what we do very well is we take the leads of the realtors in your local area, and the AI continues to reach out to them, identifies them when it's the right time, and introduces you and cuts out all of that, back and forth of trying to find them at the right time and going to all these events and wooing and schmoozing and the whole thing. And the best time we find, the best time to identify someone for a partnership is when they actually have someone that has a need, right? And so, based on that storytelling that you guys referenced earlier, we're seeing emails, responses where the person literally says, hey, I have this situation. We have somebody, it's unique. You know what I mean? It's unique. My regular lender just, it doesn't apply. Maybe you can help. And so they actually have a need for it. If you'd like, I can actually read some of those to you. Would you?
I would love. I love that. Yeah, please do.
1 second. Let me just grab it right now. 1 second.
Well, here's one of the things that I'm going. As you're looking for that, I have a client up in Dallas that is using artificial intelligence communication technology such as this, and we're hopefully getting them set up with you, is to get out and text to the consumer and text to the realtors. And texting has such a much more dramatic impact. Now, this works with email, and there's some regulations around the texting, and it's only going to get even more difficult with all these robocalls. But email works, and even texting is more powerful. So give us some of those stories you have. I'd love to hear them.
Yes. So it's great that you brought up texting, and we do texting as well. And what we actually do when it comes to texting is we will reach out to the client, get the permission, because as you mentioned, the regulation is everything, right? So we actually reach out, we get the permission, and then once they say, hey, yes, we have the permission, then we start texting, because without that, you can get into into some real issues there that we definitely, want to make sure that our loan officers avoid. So give me 1 second. I'm pulling it up right now as we speak. I love these conversations. I mean, some of them, one that I like was they're in Afghanistan. They're stationed in Afghanistan, and they're actually coming back, and they reply with this very specific list of things that they need for the house, right? And so they actually reference that, they need to buy it in September. You know what I mean? So it's that type of stuff. It's where it's very prompt.
Yeah. So I want to get into how this works, Roman, and that's the part.
Sure.
There's some great stories about how this can be very powerful at reaching the people with the right message at the right time in the right way and communicating. And what I love about Conversica and what you do in the front side of Conversica is it is so intelligent. It has an emotional intelligence in there that is really pretty astounding. But how does this work? How do we get these stories? Talk about that. Literally from the time of setting up. You're talking about Movement Mortgage has been doing this, been working on this for a year with you. And you couldn't get a better endorsement because Henry Santos heads up technology. They're one of the top technologists in the nation. And so how does this walk us through the process of getting set up on Conversica using AI Assist?
Absolutely. So, when we're talking about, I just want to clear something up, that we've been working on this for years. They're a big organization, and they were vetting companies for a year. For us to get somebody set up, we can get them set up in within 2 weeks, right? And so the way that it works is Conversica has actually been around for roughly 10 years now. And so they have a tremendous amount of data sets because, when it comes to artificial intelligence, it's not like a regular programming where you just go ahead and you program it and you teach it. He or she actually needs to learn, right? And so the system actually needs to learn. And because they've been around for such a long time and they've been in auto, so, chances are if you've been to an auto dealership and you had somebody email you afterwards and follow up, either both for sales or for service, chances are, Conversica has done it because they're just really, have integrated into that whole vertical very hard. And so because of that, all of those messages that they've learned from, the system understands when the people respond, right? And so this is very basic. We help you set up your email servers, and we pick a conversation for you that correlates to where the leads are within your sales cycle. So for mortgage, as we mentioned, we have re-engaging your database. We have looking for refi opportunities, upsell opportunities. We have reaching out to realtors and building those realtor relationships, and also reaching out to those Zillow or partner leads, basically where you reference where the people left their information, right? Because when you're reaching out to somebody, you want to reference how and why you're reaching out to them. And so once we do that, you provide us your list, and the system just goes after it, and you get responses like this. So here's one, for example. So we reached out again. I've sent you a few emails to make sure that you receive what you're looking for regarding the newest home lending program. I haven't heard back yet, and I'm worried that I have the wrong email address, right? So, so there's a cadence to it. There's things that it says to get a response, right? If you receive this, can you please let me know what would you like to submit more information? And so the AI continues to hit certain things. I haven't heard from you. Maybe you have the wrong email address. It learns from the messages that it sent out over these past 10 years, and it continues obviously to adapt where it is. It really hit the stride in the last about 3 years, right? And so we get an answer like this. I'm so sorry for the late reply. They apologize because they believe this is a real person. Yes, I got your email. As I mentioned, I'm deployed in Afghanistan. I don't have access to the internet all the time. I'm coming home July 30th. Please find me some homes. I think I told you what kind. Now, keep in mind, this is a client that they worked with, or at least spoken to, and now we bring it back to life. Whereas instead before, as I read you some of the other ones, they could have went ahead and, because you know how mortgage is, they work with 10 other people. They spoke to this one, they spoke to that one, but this one now is following up. So this is where they're going to focus their attention because, like this soldier, thank God for them, but they got other things to worry about than finding a home, so they have somebody like Movement Mortgage, and this is Ed from Movement Mortgage, who's really on top of this by implementing things like this AI program. I will mention it once again to you, what kind of house I want. So when I get home, I have only August and September to look for a house, and I'm already ready to purchase the house within a month or a month and a half. I would really love to buy a model house. If you could find a model house, I would love that, so it's already furnished, and I don't have to do anything because I'm very short on time. So this is the type of stuff that they're getting because, again, they believe they're speaking to a real person. The conversation is realistic. This is reaching out to all of those people that you started the conversation with, but you just got busy. They got busy. I mean, this one's in Afghanistan, for God's sakes. I don't think that would have been on top of anybody's list, and yet this is where it is, right? And so that was for a purchase. We got one like this for a HELOC. I replied to your message on Friday to see if Ed was available, but didn't hear anything back. I haven't spoken to him yet. To save us all the time, I specifically would like to know if Movement offers HELOCs with closing costs paid. If not, please let me know what other products and services you have, right?
All these stories are really getting important. Looking at the clock and the time that we have left, I want to get Alan in on this topic because, Alan, you have been studying this extensively.
Yeah, sure. So, Roman, definitely concur with a lot of things that you've said. It's funny, I looked at Conversica a while back before they really, when they first started, right before they raised all that capital, and I was interested in the system. But since that time, and I think they're a great system, by the way, since that time, I've gotten involved in a number of projects. One of them specifically is a personalized experience, almost similar to what you're talking about. So I think, our audience listening is probably saying, hey, there's two sides of the coin. You have this integration, this well-constructed technology solution, and you have the ability to see past conversations or to have data to personalize the conversation. What about the other side? Somebody that's just getting started that wants to, fill the funnel and create that personalized experience. Can you maybe just talk about that for a minute? Low tech, let's say, for people that just want to get their feet wet and see if this really will work for them.
Absolutely. And, to your point, when you first started working with Conversica and when we first got involved with Conversica, quite frankly, what we saw is that this wasn't, to your point, for the loan officers, they couldn't afford it. They couldn't afford it. And even if they could afford it, they couldn't utilize it because it was just, it was all about integrations and stuff like that. And what we did with the help of Movement Mortgage, actually, for Movement, and then we went ahead and partnered up with a Mortgage Outreach IO to do it for everybody else outside of Movement, is not only did we strip down the pricing and we lowered it, the startup price with Conversica was $3,500, and for the deal for Movement and for Mortgage Outreach, it starts at $500 a month, right? So number one, we were able to bring the price down because they're shared accounts, and number two, you just send us a CSV file. So you send the CSV file that correlates to what you're looking to do. So let's say you send us a CSV file and you say, hey, these are the people that I have in the database that I just haven't spoken to in a while, or this is a CSV file of the realtors in my area, or this is a CSV file of my customers that I want to see if now a refi opportunity is good. I was about to read you one where the guy says, I'm at 4.5. If you can get me a point, I'm in. And the time he responded, it was actually at 3.5, so it was the right time. You just send the CSV file. So you pick the conversation, you send us the CSV file, and we take care of the rest. It does not get any easier or simpler than that. And, we obviously have the enterprise level where, we do the integrations and, Conversica was voted Partner of the Year with Marketo last year, App of the Year on Salesforce the year before that. So, all of that is still there. All that great, technology is still there. But because we're focusing on the loan officers and because we're focusing on the mortgage industry, you're still getting the customer-facing technology, but on the back end, it's stripped down to your point. Thank you for bringing that up, where you just send us a CSV file, pick a conversation, and the AI takes it from there.
Alan, when you're looking at setting one of these things up, what are some tips that you would recommend to our listeners? Because you've been working on this for a while. And then I want to get, Roman, your response to this.
Yeah, I think it falls into two categories. Again, it's I want to get my feet wet and learn how to use it. And if you have a tech team, some of these systems do have the endpoint, the ability to integrate with your other systems. But if they don't, right, there are ways that you can design conversations that help capture that lead or that information, whether it's just being available 24 hours a day, scheduling an appointment to talk to someone. There's some high-level things that you can do to get your feet wet, David, and those are low tech. And then there's ways, with more high tech that you integrate. I know some of the platforms out there, you can integrate with Salesforce. And Roman, you may have some of these other integrations or things in plan. I can tell you, I not only took two different projects that utilize conversational AI and emotional intelligence. So based on what you're saying or what you're typing, we can capture intent. But also I've worked with a group of designers that actually focus on human behavior and their interaction with technology. And I was able to take these different products and actually put them in front of clients and be able to see what their reactions were. I can tell you that just about everybody that I was able to show this technology to, it was cool. They wanted to take the device and touch it. They didn't want me to show it to them. They wanted to know, can you go backwards? They wanted to test it on their own. And everybody gave me sort of that verbal conversation of, yes, I would love to implement this at my institution. That was the yes. The next question was, how much does it cost? How quickly can I do it? And, how do I modify those conversations? So it is interesting. It's better than Google Voice, better than Alexa, it's better than all those other systems because it's on your phone or on your computer. You're in control. You drive, but it has to be able to respond. The second that you take it off course, right? Then someone realizes that either one, they're talking to a bot, or they knew they were talking to a bot, but they're no longer happy talking to a bot, and they just want to hit zero for an operator, right? So we have to be careful of that. And so I don't think you could have a good solution or a fantastic solution. You've got to stay in the lines as to supporting what that conversation may become and what to do if the train falls off the tracks.
And that's one of the reasons I like what Conversica and AI Assist can do. Roman, talk to that, if you would, about staying on the tracks. That's a good point.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's I agree with Alan, kind of everything that he just said. And so with Conversica, because you're dealing with email, right? The way it works is, and we're going to get a little bit into the weeds here, is we end every email with a yes or a no question, right? And so regardless of how the person responds, there's a track that is pre-programmed for that. So with Conversica, again, because of the large data sets and because of the longevity, a lot of the time you have these, and this is the reason why Movement ultimately picked to work with us, is because, they actually, there were some other companies that are out there, and, it turns out that you got to do more work. It's like you're working for them rather than them working for you, programming the devices that they're going to go use for somebody else, right? So here the way it works is we end with a yes or no question. If it's a, for example, hey, call me next month, I'm out on vacation, the AI actually understands that, and she will go ahead and do that. If it's, hey, right now is not a good time, I'm not looking to do it, whatever the case is, it's a lead request stop. So they're going to go ahead and stop the conversation, but then you can revisit it again in the future. If it's, take me off the list, don't ever contact me again, even to the point, to when Alan was saying, how they're typing in the intent, if it's all in bold, for example, and that's just like a very, kind of solid example that I can, put out there. But the AI understands, hey, that's a do not email, and you will not be able to re-engage them using the system, so you don't, keep reaching out to people who are not interested. If it's a yes, like somebody saying, like, hey, yeah, I'd like, the rate is low, get me in contact, then she's going to go ahead, loop in the sales team, send the second conversation, introduce the salesperson, verify the phone number, schedule the appointment, scrape, all the information, get you their additional email, phone number that you may not have in your database, and then actually follow up again a couple of days after you get all that information as the person responds, once again to you, and then actually follow up and say, hey, did they get in contact with you? Are you all set? And if they respond in a positive, then it's satisfied. And if they respond negative, it's a lead at risk. You know that, if it's a bigger team, you should pay attention to some of the people that are getting too many leads at risk. And most importantly, that, hey, this is a live customer. Now, if on the other hand, it's something in between, and this is to Alan's point, she will actually stop and send it to you and say, hey, look, this is a lead to review. There's too much, they're asking too many specific questions. It's too much to the point. A human needs to get involved. I'm not going to go back and forth with them. I'm going to stop. Great. I'm going to loop you in, and then there's never that disconnect or getting that person upset, to Alan's point, because now instead of saying something that's nonsensical and either getting the person upset because now they understand that they haven't been speaking to a person the whole time, or getting them, annoyed that they have to now explain themselves again, she actually stops and loops you in as a salesperson at that right moment, not creating any friction. And as you can imagine, for salespeople, that's everything, because it's going to maintain the relationship. And that's where Conversica shines above all else, because there is no programming that you have to do, because the system actually is true AI. A lot of times, they say AI, and then you have, people, in some third world country going through the actual messages and going back and forth, and they hardly speak English. You know what I mean? So right. Here, this is true AI, and that's why Movement decided to work with us.
Boy, we could go on and on with this topic. There's so much here. Encourage you to go back and listen to the Gabe Minton podcast from April 15th on this. It kind of lays out a groundwork of this. And Alan, thanks so much for hanging in here and joining us on this discussion today. I know you talk a lot about this technology. And Roman, I really appreciate you taking time to join us as well today and talk about it. Roman, how can people learn more? How can they get a hold of you? What's the websites they should go to?
Absolutely. So they can go ahead and visit us on AIassist.com. And then actually the Movement announcement is actually AI Assist / shop / movement. and they can go ahead and take a look and see what we got going on over there. But yeah, we're very excited about the partnership, and thank you for having us back. A lot has transpired since April, and hopefully we'll be we'll keep you in the loop on what's going on with the relationship.
Well, we're also using you, and I'm going to be diving into this in a much bigger way. I got a big piece of information today that I didn't realize, and this is the part that's the power of your system of working with AI Assist. All you have to do is send in a spreadsheet or a list, a comma-separated valued list, a CSV file, and they'll start the process for you. And so, we overcomplicate things, folks. And I recommend getting a hold of Roman and his team to talk about how they can simplify or get you started in this path. And they'll make it simple and much easier. It's almost like it's too hard to believe. So I'm excited to be working with you, Roman. Congratulations on your relationship with Movement, and looking forward to having many of our listeners get a hold of you. Again, what's the best phone number to reach you at?
Sure, they can go ahead and reach us on. One second, let me give you the corporate number. 800-747-9163. That's 800-747-9163.
Perfect. Roman, thanks so much for being with us, folks. Next week, I'm so excited to have Ken Jones with us, who's president of ResX, a division of United Bank. We're going to be talking about the annual inspection. We're going to be getting into a discussion talking about the timing, the vendors, the cost, the purpose, the benefits. It's a very important information to get this perspective from a warehouse lender. I want to say a special thank you to our sponsors, Black Knight, Open Mortgage, Finastra, ResX, Warehouse Lending Division, as well as the MBA, Lenders One, Mortgage Collaborative, CMLA, Community Mortgage Lenders Association, Velma, Knowledge Coop, Vidyard, and AI Assist. Good to have you with us, everyone. Have a great week, and look forward to having you back here next week.
You've been listening to Lykken on Lending, a weekly mortgage market update with your host, David Lykken of Transformational Mortgage Solutions. Join us next week, and thanks for listening.